My family didn't try to break me quietly. They did it in front of 200 people. In the middle of a wedding, with everyone watching. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't accidental. It was planned, controlled, and meant to send a message. I could see it in the way they stood there, in the way they spoke to me, in the way no one stepped in when things crossed the line. They weren't just asking for something, they were testing how far they could push me before I gave in, like I always had. And for a moment, it almost worked. The pressure, the eyes on me, the weight of expectation, it all felt familiar, like I had been in that position my entire life. Expected to choose peace over self-respect. Expected to give up something important just to keep everything from falling apart. But this time was different. Because this time, they didn't just push. They humiliated me. Publicly. Deliberately. And the moment it happened, something shifted in a way I couldn't ignore anymore. Not anger. Not embarrassment. Something quieter than that. Something final. Because if you've ever had people in your life who only value you when you're useful, you know exactly how that moment feels. The moment you realize they don't expect you to stand up for yourself, they expect you not to. And that's exactly why I didn't react the way they thought I would. Nothing about that night came out of nowhere. It was just the first time they stopped pretending. Growing up, everything in my family revolved around one person. And it wasn't me. My sister was always the one they protected. The one they made excuses for. The one who could do whatever she wanted and still be seen as the one who deserved more. And I learned early on that my role wasn't to compete with that. It was to support it. To stay quiet. To be responsible. To make things easier so there wouldn't be conflict. When she made mistakes, they called it a phase. When she changed directions, it was her finding herself. But when I focused, when I worked, when I built something stable, it was treated like I was distancing myself from the family. Like success was something I should apologize for. Over time, that turned into something else. I became the one they relied on when things got difficult. Not emotionally. Not in any way that required understanding. But practically. Money. Solution. Connections. Things that took effort. Things that required discipline. And I gave it. Over and over again. Without questioning it. Because I thought that's what being part of a family meant. But the more I gave, the less it felt like a choice. It became expected, normal, invisible. And somewhere along the way, they stopped seeing me as a person entirely. I wasn't someone to respect. I was something to use. By the time we were standing in that ballroom, everything had already been decided. Not by me, but by them. The conversation didn't start as a question. It started as an expectation. My father framed it like logic, talking about space, about future plans, about what made sense for the family. My mother turned it into something moral, saying things like sacrifice and responsibility, like keeping what I worked for somehow made me selfish. And my sister didn't even pretend. She just said it directly. She wanted my penthouse. Not asked. Not suggested. Wanted. Like the outcome was already set and I was just there to agree with it. And when I didn't, when I said no clearly and calmly, everything shifted in a way that felt almost rehearsed. The tone changed. The patience disappeared. The smiles dropped. Suddenly, I wasn't part of the family anymore. I was the obstacle. The problem. The reason things weren't going the way they wanted. And if you've ever been in that position, where saying no once rewrites your entire role in someone's life, you already know how fast that shift happens. Because it's never just about the one thing you refuse. It exposes everything. It shows you exactly what you were to them the entire time. Not someone they respected. Not someone they valued. Just someone they expected to give. If you've ever realized that the moment you stop giving is the moment people turn on you, you already know that's when everything starts to break. The slap came faster than anyone expected, but not faster than it should have. It wasn't impulsive. It wasn't emotional. It was deliberate. The kind of action someone takes when they believe there will be no consequences. The sound cut clean through the ballroom, sharp enough to stop conversations mid-sentence. For a brief moment, everything froze. Then the room reacted. Not with shock. Not with concern. With laughter. It started small. A few voices at first. Then spread outward, turning into something louder. More certain. Like it made sense to them. Like this was exactly how things were supposed to go. I could feel every pair of eyes on me, watching, waiting for a reaction. Waiting for me to break. To argue. To give them something they could respond to. But I didn't move. I didn't speak. Because reacting would have confirmed everything they already believed about me. My sister stepped closer. Her expression calm, almost satisfied. Like she had just corrected something that needed to be fixed. My parents stood behind her. Not surprised. Not concerned. Just present. Like this was normal. Like this was how things ended when I didn't cooperate. And in that moment, the noise around me faded into something distant. Not because it stopped, but because it stopped mattering. Because I finally understood what this really was. Not a conflict. Not a misunderstanding. A pattern. One that had been repeated long before this night and would continue long after if I let it. And for the first time, I didn't feel the need to fix it. I just let it happen. I didn't react. That's what confused them first. No anger. No argument. No attempt to defend myself. Just silence. And in that silence, I reached into my bag, took out my phone, and started typing calmly, precisely. Not a rant. Not an emotional response. Just facts. What happened? What was said? Who said it? Who watched? Who laughed? Every detail laid out exactly as it happened, without exaggeration, without opinion. Then I sent it. Not to them. Not to anyone in that room. To people outside of it. People who understood what information like that actually meant. And at first, nothing changed. The music hadn't started again yet. But conversation slowly resumed. Like the moment had already passed. Like it didn't matter anymore. Then the phone started coming out. On a B1. Subtle at first. Then more obvious. Screens lighting up across the room. People checking messages. Reading something they hadn't expected to see tonight. The energy shifted again. But this time it didn't come from me. It came from them. From the realization spreading through the room faster than any explanation could catch up to. Because what they had just witnessed wasn't staying in that ballroom. It was already moving. Beyond the wedding. Beyond the guests. Into places they couldn't control. And the worst part for them wasn't what I said. It was that it was true. There was no version of the story they could rewrite. No way to explain it differently. Because too many people had seen it, too many people were already sharing it. And for the first time that night, the attention shifted away from me. It shifted back onto them. Exactly where it belonged. By the time the night ended, nothing looked the same. Not the room. Not the people. Not the version of the story they thought they were controlling. Conversations had changed. The laughter was gone, replaced by quiet whispers and careful distance. People who had been standing close to my family earlier were now stepping back, checking their phones, avoiding eye contact, already separating themselves from what they had just witnessed. My sister wasn't smiling anymore. The confidence was gone, replaced with something unstable, something she couldn't hold together no matter how hard she tried. My parents looked the same way they always did in moments they couldn't control. Silence. Tense. Waiting for someone else to fix what they had allowed to happen. But this time, no one stepped in. Because there was nothing left to fix. What happened that night didn't stay inside that ballroom. It moved exactly the way I knew it would. Quiet at first. Then fast. Then impossible to stop. And the more it spread, the less anyone could pretend it hadn't happened. I didn't stay to watch it unfold. I didn't need to. Because once something like that becomes real outside the room it happened in, it doesn't require your presence anymore. It carries itself. Weeks later, everything was different. No calls, no demands, no expectations. Just silence. Not the kind that feels empty. The kind that feels final, because in the end, I didn't destroy anything they had. I just stopped protecting it. If you've ever realized that some people only value you when you're useful, you already know the moment you stop giving is the moment they lose control.